The Herring Museum at Siglufjordur after hours. Take a breath in, slow and full, and let it go, longer than feels natural. Tonight, there's no schedule to keep and nowhere you're expected to be. You're going somewhere far north, past the last hour of visitors, into a building that still holds the warmth of a whole day's worth of quiet footsteps. The lights are low. The door has just been locked behind the last tour group, and someone has left one more door unlocked, just for you. Let your hands go heavy in your lap or against the sheets. Here we go. You come in through the side entrance, the one the curator showed you, and the cold Icelandic evening falls away behind the door as it clicks shut. The building holds its breath the way old wooden structures do, settling slightly, the way a person might settle into a favorite chair. You stand for a moment in the entryway, letting your eyes adjust to the low amber light that the museum keeps burning even after hours, just enough to see by, not enough to disturb whatever this place becomes once the visitors are gone. The smell reaches you first, old wood, salt, and something underneath both of those that you can only describe as time itself. A mineral sweetness, brine gone soft with age, 100 years of fish and hands and rope pressed into the grain of every plank. You breathe it in slowly. It doesn't smell unpleasant. It smells like a place that's been used for exactly what it was built for, over and over, until the use became part of the wood. You move into the first salting station, your footsteps quiet on the warm floorboards. The room opens up around you, larger than you expected, with a ceiling that rises into shadow above the reach of the lamps. Enormous vats line the walls, wooden barrels taller than your waist, bound in iron hoops, gone rust-colored and soft-edged with age. You rest a hand on the curve of one. The wood is cool and slightly damp to the touch, the way wood stays even indoors in a place this far north, this close to the water. You imagine, without needing to imagine hard, the salt that once filled it to the brim, the herring packed in layers, silver going dark under the weight of brine and time. Along the walls, black and white photographs hang in simple frames, and you find yourself walking slowly from one to the next. Women stand at long tables in the photographs, sleeves rolled, hands moving over piles of fish with a speed and certainty that looks almost like music. Their faces aren't strained. They're matter of fact, unhurried even in the middle of motion, the way people look when they've done something so many times that their hands have taken over, and their minds are free to wander somewhere else entirely. You wonder where their minds went while their hands worked, maybe home, maybe nowhere at all, just resting in the rhythm of the task. One photograph shows a woman mid-laugh, caught by the camera before she could compose her expression for it. Someone off to the side must have said something funny. You like that one best, and you stand in front of it a while. It feels less like looking at history and more like meeting someone briefly, someone who's still in this frame, having a good day at work 80 years ago. You walk further into the building, past workbenches where tools rest exactly where a hand last set them down. Wooden-handled knives, their blades dulled with age, still hold the shape their sharpening gave them. A pair of oiled gloves, stiff now, sit draped over the edge of a table, as if someone stepped away for just a moment and meant to come back. The curators have arranged everything with such care that you can almost believe it, that any minute now, footsteps will return, hands will pick the gloves back up, and the whole vast machinery of the herring years will start turning again. But it doesn't, and you don't want it to. You want it exactly like this. Held still, cared for, remembered. You find a window along the far wall and go to it, drawn by the color of the light outside. Through the old glass, slightly wavy with age, you see the fjord. It's narrow here, pressed close on both sides by dark mountains that seem to lean in gently rather than loom. The water is so still it holds the last blue of the evening sky, like a second sky laid flat. Nothing moves out there. No boats tonight, no wind worth mentioning. Just the water, quiet and unbothered, keeping the same watch it's kept for centuries over this small gathering of houses at the edge of the world. You think about the numbers the curator mentioned earlier, almost in passing, before she handed you the museum for an hour. 3,000 people once lived here. When the herring ran so thick, the fjord seemed to boil silver some mornings. Boats from every direction. Money moving through town so fast, they called it the Atlantic Klondike. Now the town holds 1,200 people, and the herrings stopped coming decades ago, gone as suddenly and completely as they arrived. You let that thought settle without turning it over too hard. It isn't a sad thought tonight, just a true one. The kind of true that tides and seasons are, arriving and moving on in their own time. What's left behind gets to decide what to keep. And what this building decided to keep is care. You can feel it in how the salting station has been preserved, not as a shrine to loss, but as a room that remembers how many people it once held, how many hands worked here, and holds that number gently. The photographs on the wall aren't grieving anyone. They're simply present, the same way the women in them once were. You continue through a doorway into a second room, and the temperature shifts slightly, cooler here, the air a touch more mineral. More vats stand in rows, and along one wall hangs a rack of oilskins. The heavy waterproof coats fishermen once wore, still faintly stiff with salt. You reach out and touch the sleeve of one. It's cold, the way old leather and rubber stay cold even indoors, holding on to some memory of the sea it once stood against. You picture the person who wore it, coming in from a night on the water, hanging it here without much ceremony, already thinking about supper, about sleep, about tomorrow's work. There's a long table nearby with ledgers open under glass, pages filled with careful handwriting, recording weights and prices and names. You lean close to read a few lines. Someone named Gudrun delivered 40 barrels on a Tuesday in June. Someone else, whose name has faded past reading, delivered 60 the following week. The numbers mean little to you now, decades removed from whatever price a barrel of salted herring fetched. But the handwriting means something. Someone sat here at the end of a long day and wrote these figures down carefully, wanting the record to be right, wanting whoever read it later, you, as it turns out, to understand exactly what happened here. You walk on, unhurried, letting the building lead you rather than the other way around. In a smaller alcove, you find a display of tools you don't immediately recognize, hooks and gauges, and a strange wooden device that you later understand, from a small placard, was used to measure the fat content of the fish, deciding whether they'd be salted for eating or pressed for oil. Someone spent a career learning to read fish this way, at a glance, at a touch. That kind of knowledge doesn't transfer easily. It lived in hands and eyes, and when the hands stopped, most of it went quiet, held now only in placards and displays like this one, doing what they can to pass it on. You reach the far end of the salting station and turn back the way you came, taking a slower path this time, letting your eyes rest longer on things you passed too quickly before. The vats look different from this angle, taller somehow, or maybe you're simply more used to them now, less a spectacle, and more like old companions in the room with you. The photographs catch the amber light differently too, the women's faces softened by the low angle. You come to a bench along the wall, a simple wooden bench, worn smooth by decades of workers resting there between shifts, and you sit down. The building settles around you again, another quiet creak somewhere in the rafters. The sound of very old wood breathing in cooler night air. Outside the window, the fjord hasn't moved at all. Same dark mountains. Same still water, keeping the watches always kept. You let your shoulders drop against the wall behind you. There's nowhere else you need to be this hour, nothing left to do here except sit inside this quiet and let it settle into you the way brine settled into these wooden vats. Slow and permanent. You think of the town outside, half its old size now, its remaining 1,200 people asleep, or nearly so in houses scattered along the fjord's edge, this museum standing at the heart of it, like a memory the whole town keeps together, tended and warmly lit even after the doors are locked. You close your eyes for just a moment, still sitting on the bench, still surrounded by vats and photographs and coats, that no longer need anyone to wear them. The smell of salt and old wood settles over you, like something you could sleep inside. Your breathing slows until it matches the stillness outside, easy, unhurried. And somewhere in that stillness, without quite noticing the moment it happens, you drift. If you're still here with me, I imagine you're somewhere between that bench and sleep by now, salt air still settled in your thoughts. There's something steady about a room that's been cared for that long. I hope some of that steadiness has found its way into you tonight. Wherever those quiet fjord waters have carried you, I hope it's somewhere soft to land. Rest well tonight, out there past the last hour of visitors. Good night.